One of the things I still miss being a local church pastor. Really, that was the joy of my life. And every time when Remembrance service came around, I loved Remembrance Day services. And I would go and visit some of our older members. I think of Walter, who had to walk with a frame. He was very deaf. But I knew Walter had served in the Her Majesty's Navy in the Second World War. And he was in the submarine corps, and it was in the submarine in the bottom of the North Atlantic, afraid that he might not see tomorrow, that he laid one night in his bunk and he surrendered his life to Jesus Christ. And I got Walter up onto our stage, and he was there, and I showed some photographs of him, not as a frail elderly man that we all knew, but as a young Navy man in his uniform, strong, virile, muscular. And he told his story. I got one, Elsie, one of our other ladies who had to be in a wheelchair. She lived in a nursing home. She had, she lost the sight in one eye. But I went to Elsie. Elsie was a lover of Jesus. And I found and said, Elsie, could I look at some of those old photographs you have? And she got these photographs out. And actually, as a young woman, man, she was hot. And we got some photographs. There was a gasp went up. You know, she looked like a film star. And Elsie got up and she told how that 6 weeks after she was married, she says, my husband was posted to North Africa. 6 weeks. I never saw him for 5 years. She says, in those first 6 weeks, I fell for my first child, our first child. She said, when he came back, he saw his son. But she says she stood on the platform and she talked about how she had to trust God in the darkest days of the Second World War with a Bible in one hand and a ration book in the other. And she stood up. I tell you, after she spoke, there was a standing ovation. I don't know, we had 800-900 member church. They stood up and they just applauded Elsie for her courage and her faith. You know, we need to listen to one another's stories. Young people, sell your shirt to take some of these older members here. Take them out for a coffee. Sit with them. Learn their lessons of faith. She stood up. She said, you know what? She said, when my husband came back 6 years later, he had left as a boy. He came back having seen unspeakable things. And when he came back, he said, we had to learn to fall in love again. He says it wasn't easy, but God helped us. We need to learn from one another's stories. So learn from your past. I think people that God is pleased with learn from their past.